Hello, hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me, Corn?
Yeah, talk to me.
Yeah, can you hear me? 1 2
Yeah.
1 2.
Yeah. I'm just sitting on the front row here, and when they play the sound system, it's very loud. Very, very loud. You got Will on board yet?
Yeah, he's on. He's ready.
All right. Can we all talk for a second?
Yeah, you want me to bring him up too?
Yes, we can chat real quick. You haven't started the feed, have you?
Yeah, I had to in order to get you the invite.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, so just
Yeah, we'll keep it clean. Tell him to keep it clean. I'll keep it clean. Whoa.
Hi.
Hello. 2-7. Couple of things. We're on commitment watch for USC with Jamar Brown, so let's talk about that early in the show.
Sure.
And, of course, I'll update this one, reflect a little bit on last night, talk about the Georgia-Mississippi game as well.
When do you want to get into the dawn situation? Is that just like came off?
Oh, yeah, that's something we can do early on, I would say.
Awesome.
Let me see. I don't think I ever heard back. Let's see. Never heard back from Larry Penley. Never heard back from Morgan. Let me send Morgan another text.
Let's at least try to get Morgan because
Yeah, I'm trying.
Did he say he's off? So yeah.
Yeah, I tried him again. Oh, we got Money Coach at 7:30. One thing he's going to talk about is the financial motivation of the NFL owners with their new policy on the flag and the anthem.
I know all about that. It's because they take money from the Department of Defense.
Okay. So that's what he's going to talk about.
Did you not know about that?
I do not. No.
That's why, starting in 2010,
Uh-huh.
that's why the NFL started to have the team be on the field for the anthem, because they were taking contributions from the Department of Defense in exchange for demonstrations of patriotism to use for recruiting.
Huh. I didn't know that.
That's why the whole anthem on the field thing started becoming a thing for the NFL, because they used to do the same thing that college did, which was play the anthem while the teams were in the dressing room.
So it's just not a pure patriotic thing.
No.
Eddie DeMurius into the game for USC, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if they still get that money, but that's initially why it was started.
Well, you can bring that up. DeMurius.
That's why
That's
why I'm kind of mad that I didn't get a chance to voice that on the show last night.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to bring it up again or not. I mean, I think it's still a 4-game topic if you want to discuss it.
You talking about the NFL thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to bring it up when the Money Coach is on, or any other time.
Yeah.
All right. What do we have here? Let's see. Broadcast. Okay.
I have a couple of these other games.
Okay.
On them here. Elon and College of Charleston are in extra innings. Still waiting on Winthrop and Gardner-Webb to start.
So Winthrop won last night?
They did. So then they play an elimination game with Gardner-Webb. The last game of the night there. Furman got eliminated earlier today.
Yep. Campbell beat Gardner-Webb.
And Samford and Walker played
Liberty. Well. Winthrop plays Gardner-Webb. Okay. Yeah, when you give the scores, give all the scores in a particular conference as you give them, if you're giving them.
Right.
So we have complete coverage of those leagues. They're almost all on stat broadcast.
Yeah, I got them all up. I got them literally all in a separate window from my what's it called?
Yeah. ACC.
Coastal plays South Alabama tonight. Although I don't know when that's going to start.
Well, it says here Coastal versus South Alabama 4:30. Right now, you've got Texas State and Little Rock in the 7th.
Yeah, they're still technically playing that game in front of them.
5:30. They're late. Yeah, they're running late.
Yeah, everybody's running late. It's a fallacy this time of year.
All right, lead off base hit. Oh, this could be a double. This will be a double. This might be a triple. Might be a triple. Nope, be a double.
So K-Mac apparently posted the thing from you know who, and I'm starting to get text on from people.
Huh. Well, I never heard back from my the text message that you saw that I sent. I've never heard back from them. So whatever. Oh, Morgan wants to know if we can do tomorrow. I don't see why not.
I mean, except for the fact that we have Aaron Fitt, Monty Lee, George, Monty Dutton. A lot.
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. It's a Friday, holiday weekend.
Yeah.
We live in Morgan's world. It's Morgan's world. We just visit from time to time.
Fine.
All right, Brian, you might want to take us down here.
All right, turning down.
Before we say something we regret, which is usually most any time we open our mouths. No. I feel like I have been living in this press box for 3 days. I swear. I tell you, he's got the right idea. I should take a picture. It's your typical SEC baseball fan. Well,
did you hear me?
I mean, it just means more hours at the ballpark. That's what it means. More rain delay. Yeah, more lightning, rain, Chick-fil-A. Golly. Still good, Ryan?
Yeah. Hold on.
Tigers. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to puke.
Hey, did you hear what I said about the betting lines?
About the who?
Will say he has the early betting lines for some of the football games.
All right. It's too early to bet.
Shortstop number 3, Hal Hughes.
It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
I mean, it's pretty cool to be able to do that because not a lot of people can say they actually hit the bowl, and kind of sucks I don't get a free steak out of it.
Say the same thing. Too bad he's a college athlete.
Yeah. So I might have to go up there and buy my own steak. Just we'll pretend.
We'll tip in. Get you a steak.
Pretend it's free steak, but it's pretty cool to do that.
I'm just glad he didn't say that anything traveling that fast should have a stewardess on it.
It's been that kind of day here, guys. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. There's something in the water in Durham when you have 17-run inning yesterday and then North Carolina getting eliminated on a suicide squeeze. You know that we're playing some pretty weird baseball here in the ACC, as well as the SEC going on in Hoover, Alabama. This is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network for the second straight day, originating from 3 sites. Will Pelagic here in Durham. Bill Kornblut is at the Hoover Met with the South Carolina Gamecocks, who are in a tight ball game right now, an elimination game with LSU. We'll get to that in a minute. Professor Tom Hayes in our Columbia studios. One of the big stories we're following, South Carolina women's basketball coach Dawn Staley has settled her lawsuit with Mizzou Athletic Director Jim Sturck, who will pay $50,000 to Staley, half of which she'll go to attorney fees, half of which will go to her charity. But that particular saga between the two schools is over. We'll get into more of that. We'll, of course, have the Money Coach for our usual Thursday spot with him in the second hour, talking about the NFL's potential monetary motivation behind their new rulings about the national anthem. But, of course, we'll start with the baseball, as we do here on this week, is South Carolina playing an elimination game with LSU Corn. And after last night, a lot more encouraging signs from their pitching staff after what happened against Arkansas.
Well, the SEC likes to use the slogan, "It just means more." So let me expand on that a little bit as it refers to this baseball tournament. It just means more rain delays, more lightning delays. It just means more late nights at the Hoover Mets. And it just means more press box food that you have to eat to stay alive here at the SEC tournament. We got a good one, though, going on here right now. South Carolina and LSU. It's 2-2. With the Tigers batting in the top of the 7th inning. Adam Hill was really, really good for South Carolina. He's been replaced by Eddie DeMurias, who is in a situation where he's got 2 men out and a runner on second base here in the top of the 7th inning. The Gamecocks, as they have done throughout this tournament, they fell behind. They trailed 2-0. In the second inning, LSU scored a pair of runs, and the Gamecocks came back in the 4th inning to score 1 run and then tied it up in the bottom of the 6th on a Justin Rowe solo homer over the left field wall, and that made it 2-2. So it's 2-5-0 for LSU, and it's 2-3-1 for the Gamecocks here in the top of the 7th. And the loser goes home. The winner stays to play another elimination game tomorrow. They'll face the loser of tonight's winner's bracket game between Florida and Arkansas. The first game of the day was a dandy. Ole Miss in 10 innings beat Georgia 5-4. Guys, this had one of the strangest plays you'll ever see. In the top of the 8th inning, Ole Miss had the game in hand, and with 2 men out, Georgia had runners on second and third. Ole Miss was up at that point. They were up 3-1, and they were cruising. Second and third, 2 outs, a comebacker to the pitcher. All he's got to do is throw the first. The inning's over. Threat is over. Instead, for whatever reason, he threw home, and not only did he throw home, he threw it over the catcher's head. He just sort of got caught in between and kind of lobbed it over the catcher's head. Both runners scored to tie the ball game, and then Georgia took the lead with a homer in the top of the 10th. Ole Miss came back with 2 in the bottom of the 10th to win it. So Ole Miss advances with that 5-4 win. But as strange a play as you'll ever see in baseball, the way that thing happened in the 8th inning. So we had about a 2-hour rain delay in that first game. It's overcast here right now, but it's not raining. The field has gotten considerably drier than it was several hours ago. And I think we'll get through the end of this one with no further weather issues.
Here in Durham, we have a current game with Virginia and NC State that has Virginia leading by a score of 3-2. They play in the bottom half of the 6th inning with Virginia batting and the 1-run lead. Early today, the 4-hour and 25-minute marathon played by Duke, and Georgia Tech Duke and Wake Forest, played until basically the time that this game was basically supposed to start. The Blue Devils do win, though, over the Demon Deacons by a score of 6-2 in 13, scoring 4 runs, 3 of them off of bases-loaded walks. So Duke will play an elimination game tomorrow to begin Friday when they play at 11 a.m. against Louisville. Louisville has won its only game so far to date in this tournament, a 10-2 victory over the aforementioned Demon Deacons. Basically, after this NC State-Virginia game, it's all elimination games from here on out. Georgia Tech and North Carolina will follow Louisville and Duke. And then the nightcap tomorrow is Florida State, NC State. Before all that, though, the Clemson Tigers will try to build off of their 21-4 victory over Notre Dame yesterday. They had 17 runs scored in the 4th inning, which was an ACC tournament record set by the Tigers. They will take on a Miami team that they lost 2 out of 3 games to during the regular season at home at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Brooks Crawford will take the mound for Clemson, their usual Game 2 starter. Jake Higginbotham is available, according to head coach Monty Lee. They're not necessarily sure whether they're going to use him as a starter or out of the bullpen. Clemson would get a day off tomorrow if they do advance to the semifinals, if they win tonight. Spencer Strider went just to 2 innings. Monty Lee telling us last night that they did that on purpose and that they planned on, regardless of outcome, limiting his usage yesterday so that he could come back and pitch again somehow in this tournament, either out of the bullpen or as a possible starter for a championship contest on Sunday if that ends up coming to pass. But, guys, right now, Clemson, if you are looking at the D1 latest projections, now up a couple of spots as a number 6 seed, according to those at D1 Baseball. We're going to talk to Aaron Fitt about that tomorrow. But, Korn, it seems like not only did yesterday's gaudy performance really help the Tigers' cause, but North Carolina getting upset by the last seed in this tournament, Pittsburgh, has vaulted the Tigers to that national seed protection that they so desperately craved at the beginning of this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you put together that kind of offensive showing in that setting, it's not going to do anything but impress the committee. Now, it didn't do anything for their RPI. Their RPI is still stuck at 11 right now. But in terms of the observers and their opinions of Clemson and seeing that kind of performance, oh, yeah, that definitely sticks in their minds and helps them. All right, so here it was 1st and 3rd and 2 outs just a couple of moments ago, and the Demurius got a called strike 3 on the LSU hitter. So we go to the bottom of the 7th, and it's 2-2. I tell you, this is one thing about Mark Kingston Pro and what he has developed at South Carolina is a never quit, never say die mindset. Last night they were getting crushed by Arkansas. It was 10-1. They almost got the 10-run rule on them, but they had a double play to help get out of an inning. And then, they battled back and, got it to where the tying run was actually in the on-deck circle. He never got to the plate, never got the tying run to the plate, but at least they made it a more respectable 13-8 finish when they could have just packed it in and gone home. But it's got to be a mentally and physically worn-out Gamecock bunch.
Well, I think probably he wants to set the standard. I'm here in my first postseason. This is the culture we're going to play with. We're not going to lay down for anybody. So I think he wants to get that note over quickly. The other thing is when you first mentioned, the one thing I really gets me to gnash my teeth about college baseball is how many guys I see in situations where runners in scoring position, and they look at the 3rd strike. You cannot stand there if the ball's even close to the strike zone and let it go past. You just cannot do it.
Certainly a lot to look forward to tonight on the show. We'll hear from some of the Clemson players from last night. We're also on commitment watch with USC. We'll continue to monitor that. When we come back, we'll talk about the settlement of the lawsuit between Dawn Staley and Mizzou Athletic Director Jim Sturk, what that has on the potential rivalry that could brew between these two schools, and also, does this mean that, in fact, Dawn Staley won the war? Sports talk from Hoover, Durham, and Columbia inside the Palmetto State here on South Carolina Radio Network.
Now back.
going down.
First base, number 48, Matt Williams.
There you go. And
Left fielder number 2, Noah Campbell.
ooh.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Welcome back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Still a 3-2 lead for Virginia over NC State as they play now in the top of the 7th inning. The game after this one will be Clemson and Miami. They will have about an hour gap in order to make that first pitch happen. We started at this game at about 4:30, so if you think about the game possibly taking an average amount of 3 hours, we're looking at somewhere in between in the vicinity of an 8:30 or even later than that start time, unless this one speeds up a little bit here, as it has, again, been a bit of a deliberate one from the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. Mentioned the Duke-Wake Forest score before. The 6-2 victory for Duke over Wake Forest in 13 innings. That is big for both South Carolina and Coastal Carolina fans as well, because I think if you are a Gamecock or a Chanticleer fan, you are rooting for Duke to be a host city, because I'm telling you, Duke cannot host a regional in that ballpark, and they cannot do so in this ballpark where they play most of their home games, because the current primary tenant, the Durham Bulls, has a home weekend. So, Corn, in my mind, if you are a Gamecock or a Chanticleer fan hoping for a possible chance to have a regional host but be a 2 seed in that region, you more than likely will be pulling for the Blue Devils this weekend.
Interesting. Are you hearing, we'd heard talk about Coastal Carolina. Alan Smothers first told us a couple of weeks ago the talk about Coastal being in that position. Are you hearing talk there about possibly South Carolina benefiting from that?
It could be, especially after the fact that they are still around. And again, whether they're around by the end of the day remains to be seen. But for at least a lot of people, I think, are opening up now to where South Carolina is becoming kind of an en vogue team. The consecutive SEC Series 1, that is certainly something that's going in. And even, this game with LSU. Yes, LSU is having a down year, but you can't underestimate beating a traditional power. And, of course, South Carolina themselves is a traditional power. But the fact remains is that they are at least, again, on their rep, basically, reclaiming some of that old glory, if you will.
Yeah, and they'll know South Carolina will bring big fans in for a regional if they get one, no matter how they get it. Okay, so we are in the bottom of the seventh. We just had an overturn of a call at first base in USC's favor. Noah Campbell getting credit for beating out an infield ground ball. So with 2 outs, he's on first base. It's a 2-2 ball game, 2-6-0 for LSU, 2-4-1 for South Carolina. Again, Adam Hill started. He pitched really well. He had a rough second inning. One of those runs came in on a balk against him. The other run scoring in that inning for LSU on a single to short. That got the first run in, and then on the next pitch, before he threw the next pitch, he was called for a balk, and that brought in the 2 runs for LSU. And the Gamecocks, like I said, have come back. They got a sacrifice fly from Hunter Taylor in the 4th to make it 2-1, and then Rowe homered in the 6th to tie it up at 2-2. And right now, the game is in the hands of the bullpen. Bain started for LSU. They brought in Gilbert, who's a Hoover boy himself. He's given way to Fontenot, and Demurius is on for USC, coming in for Hill. And I would imagine that, if he holds it together, it's going to be his game the rest of the way. Hill went 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. He struck out 2, and he walked 5, and he had the 1 balk. Gamecock pitchers have had their issues with walks in this tournament. They gave up 8 last night in that loss to Arkansas, but they're hanging in there and trying to survive and move on. Let me also mention the other thing we're watching. Jamar Brown is on commitment watch for South Carolina. I'm expecting that to come down most any time now in the next few minutes, and I certainly think it's going to be South Carolina now at this point for him. He would be the first linebacker commitment that they've taken in this class. He would be the 11th commitment overall for South Carolina, if indeed that does come to pass as we think it will. So we're keeping a close watch on that, and we will break in with the news as soon as it happens.
It is certainly long overdue, as is the news that we got just before we went on the air today. Missouri Athletic Director Jim Sterk, for the first time since making comments about Dawn Staley promoting an atmosphere that was unhealthy and promoting an atmosphere that was hostile. Well, he has since apologized for those comments in a statement provided jointly by him and Dawn Staley. Staley settles the lawsuit that she had put against the Missouri Athletic Director. Originally, she was seeking $75,000 in damages. Well, instead, he and the university will pay her $50,000. This is after also he was fined $25,000 by the SEC for violating their bylaws on conduct by an athletic director and by an administrative official. But he will pay $50,000, or the university will pay that money towards Staley. Half of that money will go towards her charity, which helps to give new sneakers to children who are homeless or in need, and the other half will go to attorney fees. This is the statement that he made. He said, following a very spirited and intense game I attended in late January between nationally ranked Missouri and South Carolina, I made comments in a local radio interview that were construed to suggest that Coach Staley promoted the negative experiences of racial epithets and spitting. I do not believe Coach Staley would promote such conduct, and I sincerely apologize to her for those comments. Why did it take so long for you to say that, you jerk? Why? Why did that take 3 months and a lawsuit and all this consternation between the two schools? You could have said that a week after that, we wouldn't be here. Like, come on.
Yeah, and but you know, there's a silver lining to anything. Don Staley has another $25,000 for a charity, but I agree with you. Sometimes it really freaks me out when people in high jobs cannot just say the two simple words that could just stop any kind of conflict, and that is, "I'm sorry." They can't say it. They can't form their lips and teeth to say it. I thought we were headed toward maybe having those two in the next round of WrestleMania, but I guess that's off.
I mean, Corn, does this guy not look completely just – he lacks credibility after this particular statement, does he not?
Well, I do. I think he caught himself in a bad situation because he spoke emotionally and without the complete story and the knowledge. And I guess he was going on what he was being told by his coaches and all that. And he just spoke out of school. He dug himself a hole, and it took this to move him to step forward and do the right thing. And the bottom line is he did the right thing, and charities are going to benefit as a result of it. I know it was aggravating for both Ray Tanner and Don Staley to have those sort of things talked about. Should have been done behind closed doors, should have been settled immediately between adults. And sometimes adults don't act like adults now, do they?
No, they don't.
No, they don't. And the other part of this, too, is that with Don Staley basically getting vindicated, this also comes on the heels of really unpublished reports. We did know that Ray Tanner said to us earlier this month when we spoke to him about the fact that SEC was going to conduct its independent review of South Carolina's security policy inside their arena in order to try and adjudicate some sort of resolution in an appropriate manner. We didn't get anything as a resolution from that, but I think it's reasonable, guys, to infer that the SEC couldn't find anything on South Carolina.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, there was nothing to find. What were you looking for that you think you could find? There was nothing there. There was no there. In this particular case, there was not much smoke, and there definitely was no fire. So I congratulate Dawn Staley. I mean, that's just another feather in her cap when it comes to building her reputation with the Gamecock faithful.
Guess what just happened? Will Muschamp just tweeted Spurs up.
Okay, well, I guess that means Jamar Brown is in the fold for South Carolina. Even though I'm checking Jamar's Twitter page at this particular point, he hasn't put his tweet out, but I know that it's coming here most any time. In fact, I've been in communication with Jamar Brown, and he said it was coming most any time now. So I think we can conclude that Jamar Brown is that commitment for South Carolina. Linebacker from Fort Lauderdale, 6'1", 192. Had 30 tackles and 2 sacks last season, and his teammate, Vincent Murphy, also headed to USC.
This is why we're better than everybody else, by the way, because we bring you that news.
Yes, of course. Need to open up my online digital clock. Brian, we get out in good shape?
Yeah, that was clean.
Okay. I can't hear the freaking music, but now I've got my clock in front of me. I'm going to go ahead and publish my story.
Designated hitter, number 18, Austin Bay.
Spurs up. Spurs up. Well, they didn't show up on my.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
Well, we see the tweet now from Jamar Brown. I'm committed to the University of South Carolina. Hashtag Spurs up. Of course, got the confirmation from Bill Muschamp as well. You can read the story. Corn was able to catch up with Jamar Brown before he made his commitment public and official. And, of course, Corn will share some of those thoughts during our recruiting report, which comes your way a quarter before the hour. Still 3-2 here in the seventh inning between Virginia and NC State. Clemson and Miami will take place following this one in an elimination matchup here in the ACC tournament. What's going on in Hoover, Corn?
It's still a 2-2 game. We're in the bottom of the make that the top of the eighth inning. Nobody's out. LSU has got a runner on first base trying to break this tie. Yeah, we'll have more on that commitment coming up. We'll also talk more about Josh Belk, who went to Georgia today. He was at South Carolina yesterday. I see where our friends over at the Clemson Insider saw need to share a conversation that you had with them in the press box last night, sharing that on Twitter for everybody to see, which, you know, I think that's look, we were not at all unprofessional. If you go back and listen to last night in our discussion of Robert McCray's story about Josh Belk, there was nothing in our comments where we called anybody out or we criticized anybody, in Robert's case, him, for what he wrote. We discussed his story. We questioned it. We rationalized it, which is what you do as sports talk show host. I think people know that from listening to us over the years. And for them to take it any other way is ridiculous. If they had listened to the comments, they would know otherwise. I think they're listening to comments made by other people sending their observations to them. So my suggestion to them before they lose their cool is to go back and actually listen to what we said and then judge us by the content that we put on the show, not by what you think or you heard that we said. So many people get things wrong that way. So, you know, I think it's pretty poor on their part to share a conversation that you had in the press box and spin it in a way that puts us in a bad light when nothing like that happened in the sort.
I'm not going to say anything about, you know, what I was trying to talk to them about. I was trying and resolve an issue in a gentlemanly fashion, but they did not want to, and I took exception to what they were saying about us on Twitter. But all I'll say is this, and if you're a fan of this program, and if you listen to this program, you know that this is the program of record when it comes to athletics in the state of South Carolina, when talking about the Gamecocks and Clemson. If what we say is so important for you to react adversely, that's speaking more to our character than yours. And when I say that we don't have an agenda for South Carolina and Clemson, we don't have an agenda for South Carolina and Clemson. We get more people on both South Carolina and Clemson sides who say that we are in the tank for the other. That must mean we're doing a pretty darn good job of being unbiased, not agenda attached, and bringing you the truth, which is what we do here on a daily basis. Well, I have no problem with what we said yesterday, and to be brutally honest, I see nothing wrong with their report, and I think if they were as confident in their reporting as they're talking about, then they should just let their report stand on its own.
Absolutely. I mean, when you put something out there, it's going to be discussed by various forms of media, those who are paying attention and care to talk about it, which is what we like to do.
On our account, and we got flack from people for sharing it because they thought that there was something to dispute with it. All we did was share the story. And they even got mad about the way we shared the story because we used the word alleges. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. I just asked them, go back and listen to what we said before you make your erroneous comments and draw your erroneous conclusions based on what people are telling you, because you know as well as I do, people hear something and they can't always retain accurately what you say. They misrepresent it, they misquote you, whatever the case may be. And so they got the word back that they thought that we were attacking the writer, and there's no way in the world that we did that in those comments last night if you go back and listen to it. By the way, Graham Lawson, I should have mentioned this, Graham Lawson came on to pitch for USC here in the 8th, and he's in a bit of a pickle. LSU's got runners on the corners now with nobody out.
There's a little something that I think people are kind of talking about, because we've been talking about this fluky ACC baseball format, which, again, it brings about more games that are, I don't want to say unnecessary, but games that really have no meaning and no pool play standing as a result of them. The elimination games begin tonight with Clemson and 3 tomorrow, but basically from the standpoint of a lot of these games that are being played, they're not necessarily needing to be played. One suggestion that was brought about, and it's been brought about by a couple of different people who we've talked to here, not just in the press box, but also who have reached out to us on social media, is make these games that we know going into them are going to have no standing on the potential of the pool, make those games be 7 innings only. And so we don't have situations where we're sitting here at 6:39 waiting for a game that's supposed to start at 7 and still waiting to go 2 innings in this game between NC State and Virginia that, for all honesty, means diddly squat.
Well, you know, some of the games for some of the teams, it depends year to year, though, Will. If the game has something to do that helps a team that needs another game for their RPI, that's the only reason you would have them. But I wouldn't have any objections to having it 7 innings. I wouldn't even have any objections that when that game sets up and you see that does not going to help either team, just don't play it.
Well, they would not want to take that away from the fans because they would not want to take away the gate on that.
All right, let me jump in here because we just had some action in this one, and an exciting moment it was in this ball game, guys, as right now we're going to go to the bottom of the 8th pending a review of a play at the plate, a crucial review by the umpires coming up. The Gamecocks got a strikeout to get 1 out in the inning, and then there was a fly ball to right field by Fiducia, and Duplantis, who was at third base, tried to come home. Olsen has thrown him out, at least for the time being. And from my vantage point, it looked like they got him at the plate. Hunter Taylor made a sweeping tag at him. I thought the runner went wide. And from where I'm sitting here in the press box along the first baseline, looked like it's a good play and he should be out. But they're going to review this thing, and this is critical. If the review goes in LSU's favor, it's going to make it a 3-2 game and 2 outs in the top of the 8th. Right now, as it stands with the call, which was out, it's going to be 2-2 going to the bottom of the 8th.
I was about to ask you, Corn, are they looking at the actual tag, or are they looking at the position the catcher was in and trying to question whether he was blocking the plate without the ball?
Yeah, I can't answer that. From my vantage point, it looked to me like Taylor had to go get the ball. I didn't see him blocking the plate. I saw him lunging back towards the plate with a swinging mitt to try to make the tag.
I just saw it live here on my because I'm watching the game, following it on my iPad. It looked like he was standing in front of the plate and gave the runner the lane to be able to make to make home plate. I'm getting a replay here now. He does have his foot in, but he gets the ball, so he gives them the lane. That's fine. That's not a good angle from the one that we're seeing here. He might have missed him. Corn.
Well, the good thing for South Carolina is they called him out, so there's got to be, the overwhelming evidence to overturn that. But if they have it, they have it. If they don't, they don't. We'll find out here in just a little bit. The umpires are talking right now and reviewing the video, so we'll see momentarily. The Gamecocks have gone into the dugout as if they think they're out of the inning. The LSU runner is standing out on second base as if he feels like they're still going to have an at-bat left here in this inning, so we shall see.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more replays of this, and it might not look good for a Gamecock fan. Although, like you said, the fact that the call was out on the field could bode well for South Carolina. But they probably
here we go. Here we go. Stand by. He is safe. Wow, he is safe. How about that? Now Mark Kingston's going to go out to talk to the first base umpire. Wow, how about that?
it's
Goes
the right
against
call.
the Gamecocks.
It's the right call, though. And he basically missed the tag, unfortunately, for South Carolina fans. And we'll go, at least from LSU's perspective, they'll go into the lead by a score of 3-2. Recruiting and South Carolina basketball will reunite with one of its former players in an interesting way next season. We'll talk about that next on Sports Talk.
LSU third baseman number 5, Jake Slaughter.
Now what are they reviewing? Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Greenwood. Seneca.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We're brought to you by the South Carolina soybean farmers in their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork, powered by soy and by Founders Federal Credit Union. Visit foundersfcu.com to see how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. South Carolina now trails LSU in the SEC tournament in Hoover. Corn, my question to you is, did you get out of the eighth?
No, we're still in the top of the eighth. I think your question was, are we still in the eighth? Yes, we're still in the top of the eighth. 3-2, LSU's got a runner on first base, and they had another review. And to be quite honest with you, from where I'm sitting, I don't have access to the in-press box information because I'm down in the auxiliary press box in the first baseline. So I don't know if you caught what that review was about or not. They had a lengthy review, and nobody's moved as far as I can tell. Nothing's changed. Runner on first, and no count against the hitter. So I don't know what that was all about. Did you catch it?
On my feed, they're still on the headsets. I think maybe what they're trying to do is to see whether or not the runner left early on the fly ball. That's probably, I think, what they're looking at right now. Yep, they're saying he didn't go early. They're also saying that the runner will not be allowed to go to second. That's what they're saying. They're moving the runner back to first. So that was part of what that review was. I think that was again all part of the very weird, fluky process of that play. South Carolina basketball will get a chance to see an old friend as they will see former player and assistant coach Mike Boynton and his Oklahoma State Cowboys during next year's SEC Big 12 Challenge. It will take place on Saturday, January 26th, as all of the challenge games will. So they will take the weekend off as they've done over the last couple of years in league play for both conferences. And they will play 10 games on that day. Of course, Boynton, as you know, recruited by Eddie Fogler, there at South Carolina 2000 and 2004. Also had his postgraduate career started where he was a manager. Ships in Coastal Carolina and were joining Odom on the staff at USC in 2008. Served under Odom, Darren Moore, and Frank Martin before heading to be on the staff of Brad Underwood, at Oklahoma State, and of course assumed the head coaching role there last year after Underwood left for Illinois. The other matchups in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, it'll be very interesting to kind of see this play itself out because one of the matchups, Corn, involves Kansas and Kentucky. That is a very, I would say, juicy matchup here coming up here in that one. Also in that game, on that weekend, there will be Alabama, Baylor, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Florida, TCU, Texas, Georgia at Saban Coliseum in Athens, Iowa State at Ole Miss, West Virginia at Tennessee, Kansas State at Texas A&M, Vanderbilt goes to Lloyd Noble Center to play the Oklahoma Sooners. So South Carolina, Okie State, and it is assumed, Corn, that as a result of this particular game, they will play a return engagement in Columbia next year.
Yeah, that's a good matchup. And, of course, like you said, a lot of different storylines to that. Interesting, though, from the SEC, no Auburn in the field. You know, it's one of the better teams from the SEC this past season. No Mississippi State in the field from the SEC. Because, again, the SEC has to only take 10 of its members to face the 10 from the Big 12. So they're leaving out a couple of the good, better teams, I think, projected for this coming season from the SEC. So, by the way, related to basketball scheduling, John Rothstein wrote today that USC's return game to Michigan, part of that home-and-home series, the return game for this coming season will be in Ann Arbor on December the 8th. So you can add that to the USC schedule. We are bottom of the 8th, and it's 3-2. South Carolina got out of that inning finally, giving up the one run on the controversial play at home plate. I guess it's controversial. Maybe, the replay maybe takes controversy out of things.
Right.
And I guess the replay, as you saw it, I haven't been able to see it, but as you saw it, the replay got it right, and it was a score for LSU, so it's 3-2, bottom of the 8th, USC batting now. And I shall do recruiting. How about that?
I did want to at least add to your thought about the SEC teams that aren't used. They're using the same 10 teams that participated in last year's challenge. So, I mean, maybe that's part of it. Auburn wasn't in last year's. Neither was Mississippi State. Neither was Missouri. I mean, and maybe that's just something that they're keeping to form. I'm not sure, but that could at least lend some credence as to why that was done.
And quickly, guys, just wanted to mention also, remember when Mike Boynton's staff is a former Eddie Fogler assistant, and John Cooper is on that staff, so he'll be welcoming his old team up to Oklahoma.
Well, of course, they had the departure of Lamont Evans from that staff with former Gamecocks. So there's a lot of connections and, interesting things between those two. But, that's a great place to play. I don't know if you've ever been there, Will, from your time working out in that part of the country, but on television, that looks like a great arena with a great atmosphere.
I love that place. It's a fantastic place. The media seating there sucks. I'll say that just quite frankly, but everything else about that place is awesome. Stillwater is a great town. Has probably the best place for cheese fries that you could ever have in your entire life. And I know that's a very weird cuisine to have the best of and to know about it, but trust me when I say they are thebomb.com. You have recruiting and the latest on Gamecocks' latest commit.
Yeah, Jamar Brown, linebacker, 6'1", 192 out of Fort Lauderdale, committed a little while ago, picking the Gamecocks over Miami and Stanford. This looks like a good pickup for South Carolina. He visited for the spring game after being offered following his season last year. Travaris Robinson stayed on him really hard from a recruiting standpoint, trying to land him. And Brown tells us that, quote, "I feel home at South Carolina. I prayed for a while, and I feel like I should just pull the plug. And as far as Coach Muschamp and Coach T-Rob go, they are two types of coaches that I want to be coached by." He's a versatile linebacker, can play the Sam, he can play the nickel. He likes how South Carolina does a lot of different things on the defense. So that's 11 commitments in the 2019 class, the first at linebacker. His teammate, offensive lineman Vincent Murphy, also is a Gamecock commitment. Now, Josh Belk from Louisville was at USC yesterday for a couple of hours, spent most of that time with Muschamp, and he also met with the strength coach, Jeff Dillman. And Belk told us that the relationship with Muschamp hasn't changed. They still welcomed him. He said just like it was the beginning of the recruiting process. And he said he talked to Muschamp, and they showed him the new facility, the new buildings, and just talked about how he could help the team. So he said that he told Muschamp he appreciated how they're still welcoming him and treating him like nothing had happened, even though he took a different route coming out of high school. So he went to Georgia today with his employer and his attorney. I believe his attorney happens to be a Bulldog fan, so that might be a reason why he went. And he said at this point, last night, he said not ready to make a call on his destination. He said he's taking it a day at a time. He said Carolina's been up there with the distance situation and all that. He said he's still praying and talking to his family about it. Several more schools have gotten involved in terms of getting in touch with him, including Virginia. He says he estimates he's heard from about 25 schools since announcing his transfer. Athlete Jelon Calhoun from Southside starting to draw recruiting attention. Penn State offered him earlier this week. USC and Clemson are working with him to get him to come to camp this summer. He's a very versatile player. He's got very good speed, according to his coach, primarily being recruited for the slot receiver spot. Air Force, Citadel, Wofford, Furman, East Carolina, Coastal, Mercer, Kent State, some other offers. Clemson offered defensive back Chris Steele of Bellflower, California. He's a USC target. Tigers also offered 2020 offensive lineman Turner Cochran of Lawrence, Kansas. And in basketball, the Tigers offered 2019 6'8" Daniel Ramsey of Albany, Georgia. All right, and it's 3-2 here. 2 are out in the bottom of the 8th, guys.
3-2 here, and just beginning the bottom of the 8th in favor of Virginia as they come to bat here in the 8th inning. Again, we're in advance of the Clemson-Miami elimination contest. Winner of that will go to take on the ACC semifinal, which will be the second semifinal on Saturday at 5. Winner will get a day off. Loser will go home. We'll preview that game coming up here, as also hear from some of the Clemson players from last night's victory over Notre Dame, and some more chatter, including the early lines for some key games in the ACC and SEC involving both the Gamecocks and Clemson here on Sports Talk.
Brought to you by Allstate Insurance. Are you in good hands? Your attention, please. Now the mound for the Gamecocks. Number 23, Sawyer Bridges.
I used to read word on the magazine. So pepper, everything up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rapping happiness to last small and home. I let my tape rock to my tape house way back when I had the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. Remember rapping Duke? The hard, you never thought that hip hop would take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight cause I ride tight. Time to keep getting go up like the World Trade. Four pillar, the opposite cover when I remember when I used to eat sardines.
Come on, Corn. I know you know the words.
Say what?
I know you know the words. Come on, man.
I can't hear you.
I said I know you know the words of this song. Come on, Corn.
Oh yeah. Get down, get down, get down, get down.
Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. You know I forgot to use the Firefox, right?
Okay, you can do it tomorrow.
All right, I'm gonna restart the YouTube and send you another invite.
All right. Just send me another invite when you're ready.
All right. I'm gonna leave a note on the screen when I leave to say use Firefox.
25.
Yeah.
Jordan